Show. I'm Dr. Sylvia Jones, the Queen of Vision, and you are here on the testimony of an entrepreneur. And I have a very special guest with me here today, Mrs. Arnetta Rogers. And she's going to just introduce herself and tell you just a little bit about her story.
Hi, thank you so much, Dr. Sylvia Jones. You are the best at what you do, and I am just so thankful and grateful to be on your podcast today. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit. We know you're an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about the businesses. And you're actually a serial entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about the multiple businesses that you have going on.
Well, yes, I have My BMS Solutions. I come from the industry of beauty professionals. I've been a licensed cosmetologist for many years and in the industry for over 30. And being in the industry at the age of 24, I owned my first salon.
Okay.
And so that was my first. Uh, Bite, if you will, at entrepreneurship. And I took off a big bite, and I pursued a career of, you know, business ownership and being a salon owner. Went to school for business administration, and the rest was history as it relates to being a beauty professional. I love the industry.
Okay. So you started actually at 24. That's young. What made you what gave you that entrepreneurial spirit at that in the beginning?
Well, actually, I started at the age of 19. I went to school at the age of 19. I had already gone into the government. I worked for the government for a short period from the age of 18 up until 20. But I went into the industry as a beauty professional at the age of 19. And I just loved it. I didn't like going to work at 9 a.m. and getting off at 6 and having to only go to work to do hair on the weekend. Uh,
Okay.
I would make 400 or 500 in a day on the weekend. So I thought if I did this full time, I could make more than I made at my government job. And that's how my career started as an entrepreneur. And from the age of 20, when I totally, left the government, I've been an entrepreneur ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how God has helped you in your journey, or helped you to start this career, or to just kind of move in the things that you have going on.
You said God?
God, yes.
Oh, God was always there. Um, as a child, I always had a spirit of um, faith, right? Before I knew what that was, I always believed in myself. And I always say, because my mom was a teenage mom,
Mm,
she must have breathed life into me at one of her maybe darkest, scaredest moments, because I can not remember a time in my life where I ever wanted to give up. If a touch of that would come my way, I just always had the tenacity and the courage and somehow the faith to keep going. And I was sharing a conversation with a family member, and I said, my mother must have whispered in my ear as a child, because God has really been with me throughout my entire entrepreneurship, because you all know that there are valleys, there are ups and downs in this. And sometimes the salary is not what you would like it to be. Things happen in life. And so, but through it all, God has kept me
he
and
kept you.
my family intact. So yeah, I'm thankful.
So you talk about these valleys. So that leads us into what were some of your biggest challenges through this entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, wow. There were many. There were many. Um, I've been divorced uh, from my children's father. Um, and that was really hard because it was a very bitter divorce. And I speak of it in my book. I touch on it a little bit. I was in a 7-year custody battle. Um, uh, 2 days after I buried my mother, I was in court finalizing my divorce. And
Mm.
so, yeah, so that was a very tumultuous time. And still, at that time, we were going through a custody battle. And so, I've definitely had my hardships, but I've always been on the side of right. And I've always tried to do my best, right? And I've always kept the faith. So, you know, that's just one of many hardships that I had gone through. Fast forward, that was 2001 when the divorce became final. The housing crisis came, and I lost my house. And it wasn't just my house, it was my mother's home, it was the family home.
Oh.
Yeah,
Mm.
because when my mother passed, her husband and my brothers, right? The boys, they couldn't keep it up, right? And so I decided that I was going to sell my house and then, get my mother's house, and that's what I did. Um, but I didn't foresee the future with all of the, housing boom or crisis coming. And yeah, we got caught up in that and we lost the house. So I decided, along with my husband, we both decided to move to another state to rebuild. And that's what we did. So
Mm. Wow. Now you mentioned something when you were saying you mentioned that you have a book.
I do. I
Okay, tell
do.
us a little bit about this book. So you're an author as well.
I'm a best-selling author. All
Okay,
praises due.
okay,
Yeah, I'm so grateful for that. Our visionary author, Miss Tess Sims,
okay.
she's the visionary author, and it's an anthology project. And I believe it's about 18 of us in that book, and it became a number one bestseller. In addition to Tess Sims' mother is in that book, and I just love her. She has an amazing story as well. But this book is really about a group of leaders who have overcome, certain defeats in their lives. And it overcame them with some amazing stories. This is a story of, tenacity and grace and perseverance. And we all came together to have this story. And I was just so grateful to be a part of that project.
Okay, that's
Amazing.
great.
Thank you.
So now we talked about some of your biggest challenges. Tell us now, old author, old entrepreneur, old woman of many hats. Tell us a little bit about some of your accomplishments.
Wow. Well, one of my biggest accomplishments is that I have three beautiful children, two biologically and one by marriage. And I am a grandmother of two. So that is a major accomplishment. And I love my family. But as far as business, oh my gosh, my career has catapulted in ways that I never thought would be, and still growing, right? But as I mentioned before, my husband and I, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina to rebuild. And indeed, we did. I opened up another salon and I sold it. And then I opened up another one. And then I drove biweekly the interstate to Maryland because I now had opened up a salon suites in Maryland. So now I have two salons, one in Maryland and one in Charlotte at the time. Um,
Okay.
so I was going back and forth every 2 weeks to hold those two salons together. And, I thought I had made it, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm back. I'm doing well. I have people in salons and stylists working and doing well. But then there was a stylist that came to me one day in the salon, and she was discouraged. And she said, Arnetta, it looks like, you're always doing so well, right? You're doing this and you're doing that, but I can't seem to hold it together. I
Mm.
can't pay this on time. And, I'm always behind in my rent. And I say, wait a minute. I say, but you're making good money, right? You're making really good money. I see you. And she said, I know, but it's something I'm just not doing right, right? I don't have insurance. And I was just like, wow. And I pondered on it, right? Because I'm always giving advice. I would give her great advice, but they have to know how to implement it and use it in the
Mm-hmm.
correct way, right? And so God spoke to me after hearing her for the 50th or so time, right? And she wasn't the only one. And I didn't have it all together, but I always was able to hold it together, right? So it appeared on the outside that I had it all together, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but God spoke to me and He gave me a task to do, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I said, "How can I do that? I'm working. I have these salons. I can't do that. But I know they need it, but I can't do that, right?" And so God and I had this conversation for 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
I
Because
understand.
he was formulating in me, right? He kept nudging me. He was giving me my exit plan, unbeknownst to me, right? He
Mm.
was giving me a way to leave from behind the chair because now we're up on that 25th year. And your back start to hurt, your feet start to hurt. And I knew I didn't want to do hair forever. But he
Mm-hmm.
was whispering my exit plan to me. And I began to listen because I love to help others. And I knew that if I wanted to be obedient, because I'm a woman of faith,
Yeah.
and I knew
This
what
is the testimony of an entrepreneur. We here at Millionaire Faith Girl. Come on,
it,
speak
that is the truth, right? You
it.
have to stand on faith, right? So
Uh-huh.
that's what I did. I stepped out on faith and came from behind the chair because I knew I couldn't do both. They both required my undivided attention.
Mm.
So I came from behind the chair. I let the salon go in Charlotte first, and we moved back to Maryland. I worked in the salon suites myself for a little while, and then I let that go as well. And then I began to get the credentials and study and research and do all that I needed to do to go on assignment. And
Mm.
that's what I did.
Okay, okay. Let's get interesting. So, what was this new assignment, my friend? What was the assignment?
So when I made up my mind to accept the assignment,
Accept the assignment.
it was for me to provide business management software,
Mm.
healthcare, and life protection for beauty professionals. So I needed to partner with a software company. And at the time, listen, I had nothing on that slate. God had given me this mission with nothing on my plate. I had to create everything, but for every step I took, and being obedient, he put something in front of me to let me know that I was on the right path. So I did my research, and it was nothing out there. What he was telling me to do, it was nothing out there for beauty professionals. It wasn't not one company that provided health, life, insurance, and software all in one company for the beauty professional. So I researched over 90 software companies,
Okay.
right? I researched over 90 software companies, and I came down to four. I even started working for one. But their systems were all over the place and they weren't attentive to their client. I needed something more personable for beauty professionals, because I knew what we needed because I was one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although I was fortunate enough to have a husband where I can have benefits, right? Not everyone was as fortunate as I was, right? And so I studied those software companies, and it boiled down to four, and then two. And one was international, and the other was in the States in California. And I ultimately chose California. And this is the funny thing about how God works, right? When you know that He's in the midst. This particular company that I ultimately chose, I connected with them. We're in a boardroom and we're talking, and the boardroom being the phone, but it was a conference call, right?
Uh-huh.
But we're in the boardroom after we have agreed that this is the perfect match, right? And what I had to bring to the table, they was willing to implement with the software. And I was just so excited. So I'm doing my trainings because now I've researched and I know everything that this system has. And they're willing to implement what God sent me to do, right?
Okay.
But the trainer says to me, Arnetta, that name keeps ringing a bell with me. He said, I only knew one Arnetta in my life, but that couldn't possibly be you. And I said, oh, okay. And I kind of rolled over it. But he came back to it again. And I said, well, try it. Try me out. Where did you meet this Arnetta? I'm curious now. I'm intrigued. And he said, at a Dudley retreat.
Mm.
And I, for years, worked for Dudley.
Mm.
And I was at this retreat.
So
It
you
was
have met him
amazing.
already.
I have met him already 20
Mm.
years ago.
20 years
20
ago.
years ago, he and I, along with seven others, it was only seven of us in this group. It was a mastermind group. And we were in an extensive training for 7 days, 12 hours a day for 7 days with the cream of the crops in the industry, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
was those from entrepreneurs from around the world, internationally out of that bunch, and in the States. And I had privy to it, my husband and I, because I worked for the company here in DC, and I was chosen to be a part of that. And we paid, a fee to be a part of that. But that was 20 years ago. And here we are, full circle. He was just introducing his software system at that time. And I said, well, what made you remember me? Right? And he said, because when I spoke, you was the only one that laughed at my joke. And I said, wow, this is amazing. I was almost brought to tears, Dr. Sylvia, because that was confirmation for me. And I was just beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I found the software company. Now we have a partnership, right? And so now I have to move to the next leg and formulate the insurance business, or implement the insurance piece into the software and just my business. Period. This is all behind the scenes. This was before I brought it to the forefront. So I'm just excited. Oh my God, I am the first. I am the first. I'm making history. And I was just so excited for what God had for me. And
Mm.
fast forward today, and I'm still going. And my team is expanding.
Oh my. Oh, how does God order our steps? If you just serve him and keep the faith
Yes, yes.
of God, only God can give you what you said, a clean slate. Start
And,
with
woo,
nothing, okay?
mm,
And then
mm,
send
mm,
you a
mm.
guy that you met 20 years ago with the software you needed and
Yes,
the idea and everything. That
yes.
is a
Amen.
show enough testimony, girl.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes, it really is.
A show enough
Uh-huh.
testimony.
Yeah.
So I am so blessed by hearing your testimony, and I know our listeners are as well. What recommendations to somebody who might just be starting out, somebody who their faith might not be where yours is,
Yeah.
somebody who wants to get into business, somebody who's trying to do better? What recommendations would you have for them?
Structure and order. Uh,
Okay.
Out the gate is very important. You want to understand what you're doing and why. What is your why?
Mm-hmm.
Find out why you want and love to do what you do. And are you in the business to help others? We know you're in the business to make money, but what direction do you want to go in within your industry, whether it's the beauty industry or any other industry? What is your why? I have a few questions for them, but be true to yourself, and be trustworthy, and honor who you are because you are your brand, and be respectful of yourself and others, and be kind to people. So that's what I would say.
All right. Thank you so much. And our
Mhm.
final question here is how, my friend, has this entrepreneurial journey and this walk with Christ transformed you as a person?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it has definitely transformed me in one of the most beautiful ways. When you can see yourself transform, by doing the work and being obedient. For me, I'm results driven
Mm-hmm.
and I like resolution. So when I got the hang of what faith does, and having discipline and obedience, that speeds your process.
Girl,
Yeah.
say that again.
But if only we knew, right?
Mm.
Practice makes permanent. When we get on that bike and it's training wheels, and we get those training wheels off, once we take those training wheels off and we go, 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 that's what it feels like when you're obedient to God. The more you hear him and listen, because it's definitely takes practice, because the devil can be tricky in what you hear, right? But you discernment. Once you get the hang of what voice is the right voice to listen to, and then you are obedient to that, and you act upon it and exercise that faith. Oh my gosh, he just speeds that process, and he moves people out of your way that you don't even have to deal with. And so it becomes an honor to work with God.
Oh
He's
my
your
goodness.
number one. What? He's the number one on your team. So
Number
when you,
one.
yes, and when you get that relationship with him, and you all are a tag team, woo, that's it. You can high five God all day, every day.
Every day, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yes,
you so
ma'am.
much. Awesome, awesome, blessed
Yeah.
testimony.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, my friend, for saying yes to God. Thank you for
Mm-mm.
moving. Thank you for what you said, discipline and obedience. Because that
Yes.
I say nothing gets his attention
Yep.
like discipline and obedience.
Amen.
And God can move you. He can take you from the back of the line and move you
Yes.
to the front in one
Absolutely.
instant.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I pray over your businesses.
Thank
Pray
you.
over your life. I pray over your finances. Pray that He will
Woo.
bless you from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, everywhere you go. Prosperity will follow everywhere that
Yes.
you go. Multiplication will happen for you.
Amen.
So we just thank you for just having millionaire faith
Yes.
and just sharing your testimony, because we never know who it might touch and
Yes.
where it might lead and where it might help someone else. So
Amen.
you, my friend, you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me, and blessings to you as well.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.